Good afternoon, everybody. Brook It Up is back. Once again, I am Jim. This is Mike. Now let's get into it. All right. Thank you for joining another episode of Brook It Up. Before we even talk about Legos, I feel like we need to address why we haven't been cranking out videos recently. And, I'm sure Mike could speak of this. We just haven't been able to sync up our schedules, right? There have been times he's been texting me, I've been texting him, and we've just been busy. And this is the first time in a long time that our schedules match and we're able to do one of these.
That's true. Yeah, you just gotta give us some grace. We got a lot going on, but we appreciate you.
Hey, we're middle-aged fathers.
Dad,
with lots of stuff to do.
Yeah, I have to ask my wife permission.
All right, let's get started into some topics. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the Lego Globe ideas. Now, this is something that I probably will not do a video on, so it's a good time to talk about it. I love the globe. Now, the interesting thing is I saw a alternate build where I think it was like a hot air balloon or something like that, and then there was and there was like a pirate ship or something, and then the globe was like the balloon on the hot air balloon. It looked really cool. And here's the thing: when it comes to reselling, and I mentioned this in a group chat yesterday, there's so many cool sets out there that I think there's going to be a lot of fog when it comes to resellers, and there will be some sets that will slip through the cracks.
Correct.
And the globe is a cool set, right? But it's not jumping up and down, screaming that I'm cool. So hopefully, if this is a set that I decide to go into, it'll be because a lot of other people have kind of snoozed on it.
When it came out, I was kind of thinking, is this thing going to be like a big winner? And you definitely have a good point there. That I don't feel like there's been a lot of hype or anything about it, which I would say is probably a good thing, especially if we want to resell it later. But I think that somebody could have it on their desk at their office. It's a talking piece. You can do a lot with that. I think there's a way that you can modify it. You can make it, maybe more unique to your personality or something like that. I actually, when you were just start talking about it, you reminded me that I was in one of my Lego stores a few weeks ago, and they had it out on the counter, and they motorized it. They took one of the motors and hooked, it was really actually pretty simple what they did. That right there was kind of neat. And they, he just turned it on. It just was spinning the globe. So I think there's a lot of cool things that you can do with it. And hopefully that will be one that will kind of maybe go under the radar for people. Cause there's just so many daggum sets coming out that like, I was talking to a couple guys the other day, and I'm like, I have to focus on picking some this year and kind of sticking in my lane and not just don't be grabbing stuff. I was kind of a grabber last year, and this year I was like, I need to be more intentional.
Yeah, I think it's a big winner. It'll be interesting to see how long it will go. There are some Lego idea sets that go for a long time. It's kind of few and far between. The NASA Saturn V rocket was one of them, but hopefully this one will not be the typewriter. I think the typewriter's still out.
That hasn't been out. I mean, has it been out maybe 2 years now or a year? I feel like it came out last year. Hey, if you want one, the treehouse is out there.
Right.
I'm dead serious. I saw it on Lego.com last night, and I was like, "You got
right."
Anyway, we don't have to go there.
Right. And also, Mike and I, we talked about for a while, talking about this set that's coming out, and we're going there. We're going to talk about the Spice Girls tribute Brickhead set, and it's a $49.99 set, so it's $50. There's 5 of them, which I would say makes this set unique. Again, I think this is a set that's going to fly under the radar for most resellers. I think this is a winner, and I'm sure a lot of people hearing this are going to be surprised whenever I say that. 1998, I actually went to a Spice Girls concert. It was the last day I lived in Virginia Beach, and then I hopped a Greyhound back to Pittsburgh. Talk about a hard luck story. But I think it's a winner. It's interesting, right? Because this is something I immediately think will sell at like a Hot Topic, right? Like,
Oh yeah, I haven't thought about that.
yeah, I think that type of crowd,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's young or the older uh, generation out there, I mean,
Yeah.
I could see this selling like hotcakes. I I don't see it selling out like on Amazon and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
it's one of those sets where while it's available and not
Mm-hmm.
retired, it'll always be available, right? You'll never see it run out. And then once it retires, that's when you're going to start to see it start to tick up a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, a Q4 after it retires, a second Q4 after it retires, then the resellers will be saying, "Oh my gosh, why didn't I think about the Spice Girls?" Right? Because this is
Right.
going for, I don't know if it'll go for $150. It might, but I think it's a clear winner, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is something you could get on discount too.
Yeah, when you initially mentioned it or we started talking about it, I'm like, what in the world? I'm over
And
here
that's
thinking like
fine.
Harry Potter, like everybody else or whatever, but it's definitely unique. And I know you'd mentioned how maybe this is like the first of more like bands or something. Like I was sitting there like, what about? I'm not like a big Kiss fan, but I would think Kiss would be something they could make, or obviously they're doing like the Beatles art, and then now they got Elvis or something like that. But like if they start going in the line of bigger bands, I'd be curious as how in the world did they choose the Spice Girls?
Yeah.
But it definitely, I think that's one, like you have a good point that people aren't really gonna. They're probably just gonna look at it and be like, "What, the Spice Girls? No, I'm not gonna get that." And then you capitalize on that, and it definitely will sell. I'm curious. Like, is it a year hold, 2 year hold, or is this? I guess you never really know with something like that. But I definitely think it's got the potential or whatever. I'd be curious to talk to the. I might go to the store tomorrow. I'm curious to talk to the guys and just be like, "Hey, how's that thing selling?" Just see if you get an idea.
And it's a $50 set, right? So a
True.
lot of the junior resellers,
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to be wanting to put $50 times
Look at the Spice
100
Girls.
into that, right?
Right.
So so yeah. And the interesting thing, and this was something that you brought to my attention. So I love Air Jordans, right? I've never
Oh
owned
yeah.
a set of Air Jordans. Whenever I was growing up, I always wanted a pair of Air Jordans. And when
Mhm.
it came to my parents' budget, it was always like $10 or $15 out of my parents' budget, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, that's fine. I'll get the I'll get the Reebok pumps and think I'm cool.
Right.
But the Air Jordan 1 sneakers crossed was it 10,000 votes on Lego
I
Ideas?
believe so. Yeah, that's what I read on promo bricks today, and the
Yeah,
picture of
so
them looks really cool to me.
yeah, and because of Lego's relationship with Adidas,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really. Where's that gonna go?
right? I would love to see it happen. And there's a Lego designer I know. I sent him an email, and we were talking about possibly designing an Air Jordan last year. We were
Oh,
also
cool, cool.
talking about doing a Cobra Commander helmet too.
Oh,
And
yeah, you mentioned that in that last video
yeah,
you did.
in the
One of those.
same size as the other helmets, which I think is pretty easy. But I just don't see it happening. I would love for it to happen,
Hmm.
but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, yeah, you mentioned that in that video you had done about Optimus Prime and the GI Joe helmets, which I was like, dang, that's a good idea. I never even thought about it. I mean, I guess because we haven't seen anything GI Joe from Lego, but I think that would hit really good with the 18 plus crowd, just like any of the other helmets. I mean, anybody could, but I don't know a whole lot about it. But there's a lot of people that, just like we do Lego, they do the reselling on the GI Joes and the WWF or E or whatever it is these days, all the wrestlers and all that stuff. So I think there's definitely a place for that.
Right. So it'll be interesting. I hope they'll do it. And
Sure.
I'm not sure how long uh, Adidas's licensing is with
Yeah.
Lego, and I don't even know if that's a partnership that they would want to break up. But that's something that I would hope would happen.
'Cause I just remember they got the clothing too, right? They got like real sneakers and
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I was just picturing the Lego, what do we call them? The shoes, but the
Yeah.
shell toes, or I always called them shell toes. I forgot what the proper name is, but
Yeah, I forgot about that too. So I'm like 100% certain.
yeah, it may not happen, or at least for a while. But
But the cool thing is something I've seen not explode over the last few years, but something with a lot more interest is the alternate builds, right? So,
yeah,
you know, when it comes to 3D printing, there's like a hardcore section of 3D printer
mm,
people out there, right? Like they do various things. They make cool. I don't want to get into what I've seen, but the stuff I've seen is amazing, right?
yeah,
And I was like, wow, like I can't believe you're doing that. And I could, when it comes to alternate builds, I've seen that on the rise. I think Brick Fanatics is now featuring some alternate builds with the
hmm,
medieval blacksmith
yeah. That
and
stuff looks good.
yeah, and the 3-in-1 creator castle. So, I would love to see some Air Jordan plans out there, not just Air Jordans. I mean, can you imagine? You have the Adidas, right? Then you have the
Mhm.
Air Jordan. Then you have the Reebok Pump, which I think would be challenging because it's
Sure.
that basketball, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would be awesome. But because of licensing and stuff like that, I guess you probably wouldn't be able to do that. So we need alternate builds out there.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. That there's just so many different things that you can do. It's amazing to see what people are creating and putting out there on whether it's the ideas or the things that the guys at Brick Fanatics. I guess maybe they know people, or that may be them themselves. I haven't looked that hard into it. If it's when I've looked at the article, like the blacksmith, that's really cool. But yeah, if they had some different builds on the shoes to give you, like I know Adidas does the what is that, like the Kanye Yeezys or whatever as a type of shoe, and people, dude, my best friend, he's got him a little store in Birmingham. No, he's in Montgomery. I always want to say Birmingham. He's in Montgomery. He's got a little store and he resells shoes. I mean, he's been doing it for years now. I think he sold like 250,000 in sales or something like the last year or two. And he just keeps doing his thing or whatever. But like he was trying to get me into it well before I was even talking Lego. And but there's just a huge market for that stuff. I would think that somebody like that might cross over if they see the right Lego, they might be like, oh, that's sweet. That'd be a cool prop or something to have.
And these designs, there's multiple designs of this Air Force Ones. And when I say
Yeah,
designs,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I should say colors, right?
Colors,
And
yeah.
I mean, they just look amazing. I mean, it just looks so flippin' good. I just want to build one, right? But yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so we'll get into a question, and this is from a viewer on your channel, Dead
Mhm.
Bricking. And if you haven't subscribed to Dead Bricking, you really need to. I would humbly like to ask you to subscribe to Mike's channel. Good Pill Will. He asks, what will the rise of the Chinese market mean for investors and collectors? Will the New Year's sets and Monkey Kid sets today be gold in 10 years due to the Chinese market? Whatever happens, the introduction of a market with 1.4 billion people must have consequences over time. So that's interesting. I'm not sure if it'll have consequences if you
Yeah.
have 1.4 billion people that are willing to spend money on retired Lego sets, right?
Mhm.
But this reminds me a lot of the one or two silver videos I did where I talk about the Chinese New Year 1 ounce silver coins. I love anything Asian because it will eventually sell really well, whether it's silver or whether it's Lego with the Chinese New Year sets. I think it's great. So if the Chinese market wants to, come about and join the Lego community, God bless. I have no problems there. It will be interesting. I think Gold Pill Will is kind of onto something. I think there's a chance that the Monkey Kid sets and the Chinese New Year sets could be gold in 10 years. The only problem is, if you're wanting to resell, you should pretty much get rid of them after 10 years. Now, truth be told, I have some sets that are old, but they're one or two. So if you just want to have one
Yeah.
or two still in the box, I don't see any harm in that. But not sure what your thoughts are.
Yeah, no, I agree. When I was reading this question, I don't think I probed further with the guy. He's actually asked a couple interesting questions, but yeah, I don't want to hold anything for 10 years unless it's for me. And I have some stuff that, like the first Batmobile tumbler, I have not built it yet, but whatever. But otherwise, I don't want to keep something like that. I definitely see the rise, and I'm sure there's going to be more and more people wanting like the New Year's sets. But I'm curious if we have any of our friends on the other side of the world that could speak to the monkey kit. I when he asked that, I go, well, dang, that's a good question. Like, I don't know. All I could do is maybe go ask somebody at the store and say, how's monkey kit selling? But they're on their second for sure, if not maybe their third wave or so. Like they're continuing to make it, so it's not like a hidden side or something like that. I mean, it looks like they're putting in their money, and I'm sure they're putting in due diligence and sales. And one thing I forget what exactly I googled, but I googled about Lego in China, and it just said in 2020 Lego opened 134 retail locations, 91 of which were in China. The company currently has 678 Lego branded stores globally and has plans to add 120 more, including 80 in China. China is already one of the company's best markets, boasting double-digit growth in the last year, and this was from March 10th of 2021. If I Googled it, it's got to be real. It's got to be true. Anyway,
Right.
I thought that was kind of interesting. That was like the first thing that came up, so I was like, I'm going to take a little snippet of that. But that to me just goes to show how big their market is. And my thought was like, how well is Monkey Kid doing here? But then
Right.
is it like off the charts over in China right now? You know what I
Right.
mean? That it may be a culture thing where it may be fantastic there, but maybe not here, and vice versa with certain things. We've talked to people, and they're in Europe, and things just go better, or Australia. The different parts of the world, things may do better than others, and I could see Monkey Kid maybe being one of those. We have such a diverse culture here in America anyway that it still probably will do well. But ultimately, I don't want to hold something for 10 years.
Right.
I think that there's definitely potential in them. I just haven't looked at them hard.
Cool. All right. Well, that wraps Brick It Up. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Please, again, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.